Welcome to the Your Era podcast with me, Katrina Jasmine, where we talk about shifting your identity with mindsets and growth. Whether you're in the middle of reinvention, becoming something new, and you're figuring out who you are, or you're just ready for just some plain change, you're in the right place, so let's get to it. So today I have here with me a brand new friend that I met a few months ago at a women's entrepreneurial event, and her name is Chel, and she has a company called Soul Trip with Chel.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm gonna let her introduce herself and give you a little bit more information about what she's up to, and it's been awesome getting to know her, and I just wanted to have her on the podcast. So yeah, welcome.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I'm Chel, and my business is called Soul Trip with Chel. And basically, I help naturally nice women rebuild their self-trust, especially if they're struggling with people-pleasing, self-doubt, and just not feeling confident. I help them to build that trust and acceptance so that they can set boundaries and be confident without losing their kindness. So I'm really excited to be here. Katrina's awesome as well, and it was so great to meet you at that event. So yeah, I'm excited.
So today we're going to be talking about inner confidence and how to bring it out even when you're not in the right mood. So today we're going to be talking about confidence and how inner safety is the new confidence. We're going to give you some tips and just talk about how to embrace self-trust, the type of self-trust that does not depend on your mood or what you're going through, but really understanding yourself and always showing up as your truest self, no matter what's going on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's the thing. It's really what I've learned in my journey, which we'll talk about more, is it's really about trusting yourself, even in situations where you might not feel as comfortable, because if you can trust yourself to show up or do what you need to do, it's just going to radiate outwards in a really positive way.
Yeah, and it's just also difficult to, I don't know, if you're in a new situation that's kind of pushing your boundaries, finding that self-confidence of knowing like who you are and just speaking up without the fear of other people's opinions or judgment is vital to have. So the format today is I'm going to be asking Chelsea some questions, and then we're going to be just like talking about the different ways that you can show up more confident in your life. Yeah. So I'm gonna start. So the first question is, what does real confidence feel like in the body?
I love that. So to me, real confidence in the body feels grounded. It doesn't feel frantic. I think a good example could be like if you're really up here in your head versus in your solar plexus and in the rest of your body below the neck. To put that in more specific terms, now that I am more confident than I used to be, if I walk into a room of new people, but I feel good, I feel confident, I know that, I'm just as good as anyone in that room, it's almost a sense of calm. I might have excitement about the event, but in my body I feel good, I feel regulated. Whereas in the past, where I would walk into a room and think I had something to prove, I would feel nervous, I would feel like jittery, my teeth would chatter a bit, I would be super in my head, and I just would never feel at rest. And I think maybe that's the best way to put it concisely, is feeling activated and like you can't sit still versus feeling at rest. Almost like being a rabbit versus a panther.
Yeah, I like how you gave the example of walking into a room, because if I feel like when I walk into a room and I'm really feeling myself, I feel like my confidence is like exudes my presence, and I don't care who I'm going to talk to, how I show up, or how other people interpret me. And it just feels really good. It feels calming in the body, like you said, and it's so important. And I feel like a lot of the times we kind of just ignore what's going on in the body and we just push it down. And there's been so many times where even I went to an event, I was telling you, Chel, the other day, where I went to an event that was at the top of my gym. I just kind of happened to stumble upon it. And I personally wasn't necessarily invited, but one of the admins at the gym said, "Oh yeah, you can go check it out." So it was a women's event for women in business, and I was like, "Oh, this is so up my alley." But everyone was dressed up to the nines, like beautiful suits, dresses, like really like nice jewelry, and I was kind of like in some gym gear. Like I looked good for myself, for like an average Joe or whatever, but I didn't feel like I had as much confidence. And I wanted to speak with some more people, but then I just wasn't really feeling myself. So it's honestly so important that even if you want to go somewhere, or if you have a job interview, or if you're going to go even on a date to meet someone new, or you want to make a good impression, like just even like hyping yourself up makes such a big difference. And, you know, I think also with confidence is like, I think it's important to try to really understand yourself. So as you go through any sort of scenario that you're going through, you're confident with who you are and what you want, like even with when you're ordering coffee. And I know I can be quite indecisive when it's like, I'm not really sure what I want. And then the barista's like, just tell me, I just want to make this drink. I don't care.
I get indecisive too. I'm like, do I want to try something new? I don't know. Now there's a line. So yeah, I get that for sure.
So it shows up different ways. Then you can feel kind of stressed. You're like, oh my God, does this person think that I'm weird or crazy because I changed my coffee order 3 times? But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. And most of the people that you interact with, you're not going to see again. So it's just whatever energy that you're showing up with, I think it's just important to just kind of embrace it.
Yes.
But if you're really trying to embrace more confidence, it's just that self-knowing and belief in yourself and just telling yourself whatever you want to believe. Like I'm a great public speaker if you're going to go do a speech in front of someone, or you're going to go to an interview, like I deserve to be here. Like that kind of self-talk is so important when it comes to confidence.
Yeah. I love that, and I want to add on to that 2 things. The acceptance of self, I think, is so critical to confidence, and that's what made the difference for me. Maybe we can touch more upon that in detail.
Yeah.
And then also, like you said, those affirmations of if you want to be a good public speaker, you affirm that. Repetition's also key. You can't just do it once and then expect miracles to happen if all of your life you've been telling yourself the opposite. So that's something else,
That's true. Confidence is built kind of like a muscle. The more you believe in yourself and the more you, what's the best, how to explain it? It's like when you want to work out, you want to look good, you're consistently going to the gym or exercising, whatever works for you.
Maybe is the word? Training. Yeah.
You're constantly training, right? So confidence is also a muscle. The more that you have proven to yourself in different situations, then your mind looks for those other situations and helps them bring you forth to whatever scenario you're going through. So if you're telling yourself really negative things, that's how it's gonna show up. But if you tell yourself a lot of positive things, then that's what gets you really far.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's what your brain looks for as well.
So I want to ask her the next question. Okay. So how would one build inner safety when the default is overthinking, people pleasing, or perfectionism?
It's easier said than done for sure. So I just want to validate anyone listening to this who's like, I don't even know how to start. It's easier said than done, but it is doable. Repetition and intention, I think, are big components of this. I think once you set the intention to start changing these behaviors, that already changes your brain a little bit, because it's like, okay, we're committed to this and this is safe to try. And then repeating small actions, which there are a lot of small actions you can do. It's creating proof for your brain that, again, it's safe to not overthink and to trust your instincts. It's safe to set a boundary or say what you want and not people please. And again, it just takes doing it over and over again in small ways and then bigger ways and then bigger ways, and then it becomes part of you. But yeah, it has to start with the choice. And I also think that compassion for self comes into that. When you make that choice, maybe you're going to mess up because it's trial and error, and just telling yourself it's okay, I'm still worthy, I'm still a good person, and I can do this, and just giving yourself time and being patient.
I think also one key component there is like people pleasing. And I'm really working hard through this. Like I'm still a people pleaser. I'm getting better and better. But when I even say the word people pleaser, meaning like, rather than doing what's best for you and what you want, you go with whatever the person wants. Let's say some friend hits you up and asks you to go to dinner somewhere, but you don't really like the place, but you just go for it just because it's easier for them. You know, maybe they're vegan and they like this vegan place, but why don't you just suggest somewhere that has more vegan options if that's not what you want to do? And just finding more of a compromise, because I feel like most relationships, there is a compromise in friendships, in romantic relationships, in your family. And finding that and fine-tuning it so that you don't ever feel like you're being like walked all over on like a doormat is so important. And then there was also a component in the question. What was the question? Oh yeah, overthinking. My goodness. I am such an overthinker. I'm still working on this. Hey, you know, that's why I put this podcast together to like go over all these like demons that haunt us of, you know, maybe some situation goes down and you're so concerned about like dwelling on what may have happened in this situation or anything that might occur in the future regarding this person or whatever. But at the end of the day, like all you can really do is decide what you want to get some clarity and move past it. It's okay to overthink if you're really trying to create or build something, but at the same time, there's just a point where it's just going to be unhealthy and you can fixate on that, or even like perfectionism. And what I've learned is done is better than perfect. And if I did not just release these episodes, however raw they are, they would never see the light of day. And you know, it's just like life. That's what I'm learning. And and as you do more, you get better.
Yes.
It's always practice.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that cliche of practice makes perfect. You don't even need to be perfect, but practice makes you better. Practice makes better.
Yeah.
And practice makes you more confident because, again, you do this, it's training. Like, the more that you train a muscle to be able to do 5 pounds for like 50 reps, not that I would ever do that many, but maybe that's what you want to do. Like, you get more confident, you know you can reach those reps. And it's similar with things like this. Overthinking, throughout my whole life, always an overthinker. I'm still working on that too. It's gotten a lot better. I find that pattern interrupting is really helpful for me. When I feel myself starting to spiral and overanalyze a situation, I'm like, okay, let me stop this, let me go do something else. Or if I have the capacity to unpack it a bit, I stop it and I think, okay, where is this coming from? Where is this anxiety coming from? Because I don't think it's actually the situation on a surface level, it's the way it's making me feel underneath, or like a belief that's being triggered by it. But anyway, I don't want to get too in the weeds with that, but the point is there are ways to stop yourself from overthinking and start training yourself to
and I would say the best way to even kind of start noticing overthinking is meditation, because when you sit and meditate, you're thinking, it's hard when you first start meditating, like it's really difficult to clear your mind as you're supposed to, or you're trying to. And what you start to notice are thoughts. And then the more you do it, the more repetitive you realize your thoughts are. And then with that, then you can start to notice like, oh, I keep really fixating on this type of outcome or the way that this person's treating me. Like what's there that I don't like, that I do like, or I want to remove and get some clarity on. And I feel like that's where all these triggers, and that's like a tool that you can use to help you understand what's really going on with you. And also therapy. Whatever works best for you. There's other tools out there, but those are the two that I use the most. Nice. If you feel like you're in that kind of spiral and you want to get some help and do some reflection.
Yeah. Also just going outside, like taking a walk, something with nature, that usually helps me just break out and be like, oh, there's so much world out here. And this is small. In the grand scheme of things, this problem can be small if I allow it to be.
Yeah, and most of the time, the problems that you have are usually just like within yourself. Like no one's really thinking about you as much as you are. And that goes for everybody. So I think it's so important to just have that kind of awareness. And I love going for walks. I actually love even swimming if I have a chance to, just to really clear my head and just being alone. And even for me, the last few weeks, I've been spending a lot more time alone, getting in my own energy without trying to be affected by what anyone else is. And that's been very helpful because it's so easy. Like you're not feeling well, you distract yourself meeting with friends or watching something, or you're anxious and you're like, I don't want to feel like this, let me go drink. But really it's just sitting with yourself and going through the motions of the feeling to understand what's going on if you're doing any of those things.
I love that.
So long-winded answer, but
no, very valuable though, and I agree.
And then, okay, so then the next question I'm gonna ask is, how can I trust myself again after I've broken promises to myself or abandoned myself in relationships?
Okay, that's a meaty one. The first word that comes to mind is compassion, like compassion for yourself. And I think as in not beating yourself up for the mistake. And I think that was one of the biggest game changers for me when I really started having lasting self-acceptance, self-trust, and self-confidence, and therefore self-love, which is what I teach about on my channel. So when let's see, I want to unpack this 2 ways, because when you break a promise to yourself, that can be something small, like you said you were going to work out today and then you didn't. Abandoning yourself in a relationship, that's more macro, and that can happen over time. Where I think there are parallels between them is at the end of the day, you maybe feel separated from yourself and you feel like you let yourself down. And that can breed contempt and self-hatred and that loop of I'm not good enough, I'm a screw up, all these negative things. So I would say the question was how do you get self-trust again, right?
Yes.
After you do that? Yeah. So one thing is I imagine when this happens that you're probably engaging in negative self-talk if you're anything like how I used to be and still can be sometimes, because no one's perfect. You have to have awareness of the way you're talking to yourself and just really start being aware of what you're saying to yourself. And again, if it's negative, write that down. Really see what conversational patterns are showing up. Awareness is the first step. And then you really need to come back to that compassion. I always like to liken it to the situation of if your dearest friend or your most loved person in your life came to you with the same issue and was saying that they feel like they're worthless because they lost themselves in this relationship, they didn't work out today, they're not sticking to their goals, whatever it would be, how would you respond to them? And every time that I ask myself this, or I have a friend ask themselves this, they would answer that person in a very compassionate, loving way. They wouldn't pile on, they wouldn't beat that person up verbally. And yet we do it so easily to ourselves without even thinking. So I think really applying that approach to yourself is how you can start rebuilding that bridge of, even if it doesn't feel like self-love yet, that acceptance and compassion for, hey, you're human, we messed up, but it's not the end of our story. And once you can start building that bridge, then you can start figuring out what actions you need to take to be in alignment with what you want and honor what you want. So for a simple example of the working out, okay, you've been off your game for like a week, you're feeling like crap. Okay, then tomorrow, what I can do is go for a walk. That's simple. You start with little actions and you build and build and build. And again, that repetition is really the way to train your brain to help with things like that.
No, and just to add on to that, it's so natural for us to think negatively. It is a survival mechanism because those negative thoughts help us to survive. You know, back in the caveman days when maybe there'd be two guys and one would be like, I'm gonna defend myself against this lion, and then the other guy would be like, no, F that, I'm gonna go run up the tree and protect myself because you're afraid of like what outcome could happen. All of those thoughts are completely inherited through our ancestors through that. So just know that it's normal. Everyone thinks most thoughts are repetitive and most of them are negative. So it's completely natural to think that way, but you need to create, like Chelsea was saying, first of all, understand, what are you telling yourself? Obviously, you never say that to a friend. And how can you start to address those thoughts and turn them into something more positive? Because, we are so hard on ourselves, and I've been in the past so hard on myself. And it really got me nowhere because they're just thoughts. It's not true. It's not reality. It's just what you're telling yourself. And I would say one tip I would recommend is I was waking up last year. I had started a new job, but I had been laid off before, and I was quite stressed about the layoff. And I would wake up every morning and my thoughts were so bad. I was like, am I gonna get fired today? I woke up thinking that every day for months. And I got to a point where I thought, I have a job, I'm great at what I do. I can't wake up like this anymore. And I try to do a morning meditation every day. So I was like, I'm gonna find some positive morning meditations. So I found some from Joe Dispenza, and I listen to them now in the morning. So the first thing that I do when I wake up is I grab my phone. I do not look up any social media, any messages, and I listen to my positive morning manifestation. And it's like, good morning, beautiful soul. You're going to have a great day today. And I'm like, yes I am. Yes. And now when I wake up, even before those negative thoughts would shower me and be like, oh, you're going to get fired. And now I wake up and I'm like, everything's going to be great. I'm going to have a great day. So it's just kind of tricking your brain into that kind of thought pattern, and try to get to your subconscious, because at the end of the day, that's where this is all kind of coming from. Yeah. So it's absolutely. Self-love, self-compassion, and what Chelsea said is just, if you fall off your gym routine or whatever exercise routine, it's okay. Just keep going. You don't need to beat yourself up about it. Tomorrow's another day, go try again. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the only person that's beating yourself up about it is you. So let it go. Life is too short.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Love that.
So the next question is, what's the difference between confidence and control? And why do I keep clinging to control when I feel unsafe?
Well, I'm going to answer it in reverse. You cling to control when you're unsafe because you feel like that's the only way you can feel safe, because a false sense of control, again, it tells you like, okay, there's one little thing that I can do that's in my power. It happens when you feel disempowered. Now, I would say the difference between confidence and control, and really it's having confidence versus feeling the need to control. I just want to clarify how I'm thinking about it. I would almost say what comes to mind for me is confidence feels a little more laissez-faire. Like they're opposites. Like you don't feel the need to control every outcome, control every interaction, control how other people are going to interact with you. You feel that you are enough, and what you have to offer, what you have to say, and who you are embodying is enough, and that is enough to bring to someone, and you release control of how they perceive you, how they interact with you. Now, with control, I'm trying to think of an example. With control, it comes back to overthinking, actually. You might act out of character and, for instance, people please to try to control how someone's going to react to you. For example, like my mom and I, we're good now, but we used to butt heads a lot when I was growing up, and I would find that I used to have a fawning trauma response when she would get mad, and I would be like, okay, I don't know what's going to make her not mad, so I'm just going to do everything I can. I'm going to tiptoe. I'm going to do this and that. Nowadays, honestly, again, we don't really fight that much, really, if at all. But the few times that we do have like a disagreement, I'm in a place, besides the fact that I'm an adult now, which helps, but you know, you can still revert to childlike behavior with your parents. If I know I really didn't do anything out of bad intention or do anything that warranted her reaction, because she's a lovely fiery Scorpio, I'll stay in my energy. I won't meet her at her level, and I also won't suddenly cow down and be like, okay, she's upset, so I need to overextend myself. You know, I hope that's making sense. I'm trying to give an example. Like when you overextend yourself, when you're trying to figure out what the other person might need so that you can feel comfortable, that's trying to control the situation. For me, I let her be until she calms down a bit, and then we can talk it out peacefully. But at that point, I'm confident in knowing that I am a good person, that I didn't do anything with bad intent in these hypothetical situations, and that it's also not the end of the world. So I hope that makes sense if you guys are watching or listening to this. It's a little nebulous, but it really comes down to, again, I think having a vice grip on the situation or the person, and letting your happiness be so dependent on their reaction versus knowing that you'll be okay regardless of what happens. That's how I sum it up.
I mean, no, I get it. Like,
Yeah.
I think when it comes to control and confidence, when you're trying to control situations, it makes you feel more safe. Mm-hmm. But in general, in life, anything and everything is uncertain. You just don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, this afternoon, next week. And I feel like the difference between confidence and control is, let's say I'm applying for jobs and I know what my strengths are, my weaknesses, I know what I'm capable of, and I can go into an interview being confident about who I am, what I can do, and all of that. And I can be so sure that maybe I'll get this job, but like it's also just letting go control of what the outcome is going to be, and just showing up in that as your best self, as your most confident self, knowing who you are, knowing what you can do, and knowing what you can bring in that situation, and then letting go of the outcome. And I would say that's how you can kind of even manifest things, when you're like clear and you put yourself forward. That's part of it, but also just control is just something, like even when people are driving, like I've been victim of this, and I've also done it to people where, I'm driving and then there's a backstreet driver being like, no, I want you to turn left here, or no, you should go this way. And like, that's another form of control. Yeah. Because they feel more safe telling you what to do, thinking that they know something better or whatever. And control comes in so many situations. Like I've had it even with some situations with my mom or like my parents, where I was having a party and then I was decorating, and then my mom came, she was like, you need to move this over here. And then she got really mad when I didn't. And then I realized, I'm like, oh, this is another person's way of like wanting things their way because they think they know better and they want control over the situation. So it's like it constantly shows up, but it's very subtle depending on the person, and some people can be louder about it or quieter.
And they want probably validation. That's what when you mentioned that what do you think of that?
Exactly.
Like they want validation.
Yeah, they want to feel validation that they're right. Like, you know, especially when it comes to like driving or, you know, decorating or whatever the situation is. It's just like knowing that, okay, they were validated, they wanted that control because they know better or whatever. And then it makes them feel better and more or I don't know if it's confidence.
Yeah,
but
it's
like,
not real confidence. I think you actually make a great point if I can cut in, if that's, Yeah, I think it comes down to validation in that way, and control is trying to get that validation externally, and confidence is you already have it because you validate yourself.
Yes, that's so important. Confidence comes from within. It does not come from other. But I will say some situations on the outside can help validate you and feel more confident about yourself. But true confidence is just knowing yourself, loving yourself, and just showing up with that deep belief in yourself.
Yeah, love that.
So the last question that we're going to go over is, what are tiny daily actions that could build confidence fast when I'm busy, tired, or in a low season?
Okay. The busy and tired changes things a bit, but it's still possible. So for example, when I'm not doing Soul Trip and all of that, I am in the industry, like the entertainment industry. So if I'm booked on a project that has like 12-hour work days and I don't have time to like get up, have my tea, read a book, do yoga, as I would love to, I at least commit to just one thing that I can start my morning off, right? So I do energy work, and that's something I can do in bed. It's mostly like in my head. So it's in a way, it's a form of meditation, but it's very quick and it's like light work. So I will commit to doing that. If I have a little bit more time, then I will add on a second activity of doing hip opener exercises, because as women, that's like so important to do for our creativity and our well-being. So I think it's having at least one action, even just one, that you can commit to every day, even if you are tired or busy. And in the long run, once you're less tired and busy, it's stacking these habits and these promises to yourself and following through. And making sure that you start in a way that it's manageable, and then that way you can build and build and build, versus starting with one big task that is going to make you feel like a failure if you miss a day.
Yeah. Yes, and to add on what Chelsea said, I would say some tiny things you can do to help with confidence. I like to have a nice morning routine similar to Chelsea, but I don't always have time. But I would say it all starts with your mind. So taking some time to even write out what you want to be or how you want to feel. A few years ago, I remember I was writing in my journal and I was like, I am a strong, independent woman. I am this. I am, people love my energy. Like I shine bright like the sun. Whatever I wrote. And I remember, I don't even remember how much longer later, I was like on a date with this guy, and he told me, and he said the things about me that I had written, and he's like, you're just so great. You're a strong, independent woman.
Gosh.
And when you come in, you like light a room up like the sun. And I was like, what? It was a trip, and that was not the first time. I've also had other people say similar things to me when I'm writing it out. And you have to write it and like take a moment to feel what that means to you. What does a strong, independent woman mean? What does it mean to like walk into the room and feel like you're shining bright, that people notice you? And it's just embodying those things and how that means to you. So me being independent was about getting a good job where, I had a job where I was a consultant, so I would fly to different countries. I flew to like Switzerland, Brussels, cool. Den Haag, and my company just believed in me. Like they sent me alone to handle clients. I would just go do my job, and it made me feel confident, it made me feel strong and independent. And I would always make sure to come in with a smile and make people feel seen and heard and feel good. And I exuded those energies because that's how I wanted to show up. And that's how you can make that confidence become real, is just starting within yourself, like taking some time to meditate, put those some affirmations in your head, write them down. I love writing it down the most because then when you write it, it physically exists somewhere. Even if it's in your journal or your notebook that's sitting in your house, like it's there. And it's like you've put it out in the world. So that's also a great kind of micro action that you can do. And if you can't do it every day, just try to do it a few times a week and just spend 5-10 minutes with yourself thinking about the things that you want to feel confident in. And it all starts with you. Like you got to put the work in. you know, just like anyone who's been successful or famous or wealthy or whatever, like they're putting in the work. And it's going to look different for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Really quick, I just thought of this. I used to do this in, I think, 2023. A tangible thing you guys can take away from this to implement what we're talking about is I made these like little, not charts, check boxes. I made a document with different tasks, like 5 different tasks I wanted to do every day with check boxes, and I labeled them for each week. So for instance, one was like do Duolingo for 5 minutes a day, do my daily yoga. And that really helped me stay on track and also appreciate my progress. Even if sometimes I missed a day or whatnot, I found whenever I go back and look at those, it makes me smile because now I do a lot of that just without needing to mark it and track it. But it helped me start building that confidence that, you know, that we're talking about. So you can try that.
Yeah, try it out. These are all great tips for you to show up as your most confident self. And just to end this episode, Chel wanted to mention something that she's working on that seems really exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, so I have a free guide that I just launched. It's called 10 Phrases to Help You Stop Being the Nice Girl, but without losing your kindness. And again, this is really for my fellow naturally nice girlies who want to set boundaries and want to stand up for themselves and be confident, but maybe don't resonate with some of the more hardline tactics that are out there, like myself. It's 10 different scripts you can use in your daily life, and we also break down why they can help, how you can implement them, and how you can even reword it a bit to fit your unique situation. So you can grab those on my website, www.soultripwithchel.com, and that's soul like S-O-U-L.
And I will put a link for it in the description of this episode. Thanks for listening to the Your Era podcast with me, your host, Katrina Jasmine. If this episode resonated with you or you know someone who needs to hear it, please feel free to share it, leave a comment, or follow on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. It really does help more than you know. And don't forget, it's your era.